Oh, that sucks. I thought it was on. Oh well. Let's get it going from the top. But we got a very special shot. I've been waiting all night to get this, and it cleared up just enough. Got the moon, Saturn, and Jupiter for the first time ever, at least for me, getting them all in the same frame. And I think the volume should be working right now. Hold on, let's see. Actually, that should be better. Yeah, it was still from the fade out last night. I hadn't fixed it. I wasn't even expecting to go on tonight. It was already like 2:45, and then somehow it cleared up. It's been storming all night. So let me know if you can hear and see. What's up, Cat Dan, ALV, and F'd Up World, Night Owls, totally. Always the insomniac stream. No, like I was set up to go, I was all ready to go live earlier when the moon rose up, and yeah, no way. It was like 5 hours of storms. But I still got a little bit of energy, so we're gonna take a look at this wide shot for a bit, and then I'm gonna switch cameras in the middle of the stream and see if that works, and get back to the scope. So I'm going to play a couple of tunes that I bounced today. So if you're hanging out with me this late, you get to hear some special tunes and see some special moons. This camera is the old A6 III, and I have it on a tripod with a 200 millimeter lens right now, which is what's capturing the moon. It's the after full moon. And at the top, at the noon or like 11 o'clock position, 11:30, is Saturn, and then to the right is Jupiter. And even if you can really see it in 4K, you should be able to see Jupiter's moons and all the clouds. Yeah, it's a crazy shot. I've been wanting to do it for a while. Let's see how it works in a little bit when I switch up the cameras from the scope to from the tripod to the scope. But for now, it's looking pretty sweet. Cloud especially. Clouds. Alright, so this is Rise, and then 4/8, and then Green Flock, all in a row.
waiting on the sea for years. I've been waiting for the secret all along. And you know what brings it? But don't you know what soul can see? Singing about this dream so long for you. I've been dreaming about the song. So long for you, I've been singing about the song. So long for you, I've been dreaming about the one with you. I've been singing about this dream. So long for you. I see the color of the side of the moment I'll ever read the song to you all along. And you know what brings it? Don't you know what soul can see? And you know what brings it? Don't you know what soul can see? Up so high, you break into my night, cutting to the edge of my world. But I still need, like the puppets got to breathe. But I can feel your fire tearing up the street, tearing up the street. You feel like the breeze of my dream. We still breathe 'cause there's something more to see. I can see the wires straining up to me, holding up the seams of my heart. Yeah, something tells me twilight's come my way. slow, like the cold trains on the soul track. It brought me down to the whoa. Forget about the land you knew was strange. Remember all the love you knew was fake. Won't you close your eyes? Relinquish every step of the way. Oh, terrestrial, and all your memories, like a cold hand, puts up your sleeve like a fifth wheel. I'm rolling down. I'll be toe to toe with the truth, you know. Fine. Show away. Won't you go till the end of your days with your fine. Will you crawling up to you? Will you go to the end of your days? Yeah. Go to the end of your days. To the end of your days. That silhouette redeemed against the moon is all of me. I raced against the sperm, let time drift on for me. And what you call the beat, and so you know it's real. I find the rest in you and sleepless pills, all and all, like dreams I made her feel so high. Sleepless pills, all and all, my dreams I made.
Sorry, I'm playing that one from the top. The better mix. Much richer. So, just saying what's up to everybody. Tammy, good to see you. Kat, Dan, in Lost Brooklyn, and whoever else is hanging out on this late night stream. So I switched up the cameras and that worked really well. So that's nice. I'm gonna be able to do that more often. Got a really great shot of the moon right now, and let's see, what is it? It's 98.6%, and I'll shift over to Jupiter in a little bit. Gonna go for, I don't know, maybe 30 more minutes. It's gonna be a short one, but had to capture this. All right, Dreamfields, here we go.
Sleepless peace, on and on. My dreams are made to feel so tiny. Sleepless peace, on and on. My dreams are made to dream so high. Sleepless peace, on and on. My dreams are made to feel so tiny. What do you think is real, and how you think you see this silhouette redeemed until the moon is all of me? We raced against the pearls and let time drift off of me. And so you know it's real. I cut you collar bean, I'll find the rest inside this sea. My dreams are made to feel so tiny. Sleepless peace, on and on. My dreams are made to dream so high. Sleepless peace, on and on. My dreams are made to feel so tiny. Sleepless peace, on and dreams are made to dream so high. I see you and me together, wrapped around my head instead. I felt you on the surface of the moon. They said I'm dead. Until you know my dream, as none of us will always be waiting for them to wake up eternally. Let's get pushing on up this burn. Sleepless peace, my dreams are made to feel so tiny. Sleepless peace, my dreams are made to dream so high. Sleepless peace, my dreams are made to feel so you so bad, get you so bad, yeah. Sleepless rider, sleepless passions that we bleed through. Every fear, your open wide soul modulation. You just come feel this ride so high, your love I'm craving. But I can't see it till you, ooh, just bring me back. Oh, bring me back out of the cold. Just bring me back. Feel your open wide soul modulation. Just can feel this ride so high, your love I'm craving. Just can't see it till you, ooh, just bring me back. Just bring me back out of the cold. You know, bring me back.
All right, hopping in here for a second. 3:30. I got a few clouds. Let me just take a look. Yeah, not too bad. Not three bad. So just want to say what's up to Arum Vorax and just mention to F'd Up World to take a look at the description of this video and any one of the videos, and it links to a bunch of different electric universe channels and the principles of planetary scarring, electrical interaction. The thing that I want to mention is that, you know, I'm not going to try and get into a deep discussion about religion necessarily, but there is this kind of understanding, at least for me, through the filter or through the lens of electric universe, the fact that ancestors of humans saw a different sky and different distances of planets and arrangements of planets and comets. And I feel like a lot of the religious, biblical, Atlantean records that exist are all actual physical events that happened maybe 2,000, maybe 4,000, maybe 10,000, 20,000 years ago. But it makes a lot of sense that humans actually logged all these events, these catastrophes. And when you mentioned the dragon, there's a reference in Thunderbolts to Venus, the comet, and interacting with Mars and Saturn in a celestial configuration where plasma trails were the first to be recorded in I guess, a few thousand years ago in terms of this archetype of the dragon with the flowing hair and the long lizard-like body. And so there's this correlation between mythological symbology and this planetary configuration and plasma in the sky. And so almost all religious literature and or archetypal humanist, anthropomorphized, humanized religious texts were actually astronomical events. And so through this, it's just one perspective, but let's say that's what it was. It would make sense that so there's that part, and then there's the rockets that we launched today, or that certain companies privately launched today, and they remind humanity of these events. So there is a correlation, which is not just, coincidental or conspiratorial. It just happens to be synchronistic with the same thing that you mentioned about the basalt flats being hexagonal, and the image in front of us showing like these two hexagons, or a pentagon and a hexagon, in the shape of serenity and tranquility. So these hexagons are formed due to the fact that a Birkeland filament, or in theory, well, I say in theory, but for me, I believe this because it seems to be a holistic understanding of this geometry, but, take it for what it's worth and research it. The idea is that there's a Birkeland coaxial twisting filament that goes through every single particle or Planck distance or potential energy in counter space. This is all the ether, and through the Birkeland filament, these little things emerge, which are like stars or souls. Not souls. I guess they're like the little dynamo that oscillates. And as it oscillates, it creates this fundamental geometry. It creates an inertial plane of inertia. This is shown in Ken Wheeler. The Aurea apophysis does this with the ferrocell, if you've ever seen that, and it shows these field lines. So almost everything in nature, from the human, basically has a Birkeland filament going through it, creating this torus and hourglass shape. I love the way it's like, I'm not going to get into it really deeply, but then I get into it super deep. So that's the hourglass shape, hyperboloid, and the torus. And same thing, almost every single situation, from molecules to, here, let me erase this for a moment. And let's pull up an image of a caffeine molecule. And you'll see that it's so similar to Sea of Serenity and Sea of Tranquility. Right? So we live in a world now where all the features on the moon are supposed to have been created by impact, but then you have these giant mare that are replicas of like stuff we see throughout reality fractally. Let's see what's going on. Wingmakers, welcome. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Yeah, so this whole idea of evil and good is determined by this geometry as well. So this geometry denotates this idea of space and counter space. And this is supposed to be, or for me, is the fundamental geometry of the reality we live in. So what happens is matter, as we know it, condenses along this plane of inertia, and it experiences itself through these toroidal, these plasma, encoded plasma shells that radiate outwards, and then we're fed along a Birkeland filament. So current is induced and energy is pushed out. So it's almost like a simple analogy would be the words and on a page, for example. So when you look at a page, you don't really, when you're reading a book, you don't really look at the page and say, wow, look at the page. You're like, you immediately start reading the words. But the idea of counter space is the page in relation to the words, right? Or good in relation to evil. So almost everything on Earth that kills, even like walking off a cliff, for example, the idea of that is just that Earth is a self-regulating system, right? It'll kill as much as it's supposed to keep itself in equilibrium. So I don't know if there's any, true good or evil. I think there's just a balance of things. This idea of space and counter space. What's going on? Ben says, have I seen David LaPointe's primer field theory? It's not necessarily like the be-all, end-all, because, he's trying to make a machine, and nothing against him, like, he seems like a really brilliant dude. But, the idea of healing or free energy is just like, is one section of this. But yes, I've seen David LaPointe's primer fields. It's pretty brilliant. And so what his concept is, or hold on, let me bring this into play. So David LaPointe's primer fields, or at least as I have seen them, is essentially he creates this kind of node point, similarly a plasmoid, through inducing charge through inverted bowls, and the bowl has current flowing through it from the top, and inverted bowl has current, I guess, coming in from the bottom as well, or it's just flowing through it. And what happens here is that you get levitation and you get organization of particles in a hexagonal circle packing matrix. And so he shows how everything is organized yet also maintains distance in a very simple way. The other thing that he did was he arranged magnets inside these bowls in a certain flower of life toroidal flux, which essentially this shape denotates. So these conical shapes that suck in Birkeland energy and release energy look like this hourglass shape at the center. We're getting fed, and then we release, and then we build this system, which really almost everything is built upon. Unification. This is what Ken Wheeler talks about. Like if you mixed up Ken Wheeler, Eileen McCusick's human biofield, Rupert Sheldrake's morphic resonance, the electric star model by Donald Scott, and then all the stuff from Thrive, New Age, and just your own observations, it all comes together. Let's see. Moon with some caffeine, hell yeah. Cosmic Surfer says the Ferrocell is great, but they always use man-made magnets. I think natural magnetism is somehow different. I'm not sure what you mean, but I think it's just like the idea of gravity being very weak compared to electromagnetism, when really, if you look at what Ken Wheeler has done, you can see this idea of showing this null point that is created between two bodies, and that's kind of what we experience as gravity. the reason we don't see the Earth coming at us is because the point created between humans and the Earth is so small. Similarly, the oblateness of spheroids is also so small that you can't really even tell, which is why like the moon and the sun and all of them are actually a little bit squashed, but it's almost impossible to see it. And the reason it's like that is because at this Birkeland filament, at the point of it, it pushes heavier elements to the outside, just like Saturn's rings. So anyway, I'm talking about planets when I could be showing them. What's up, Arwin? Arwin says the moon is not a physical object. Okay. It is a light. I don't, like, not to get into flat earth stuff, but like, really the language kind of just doesn't make any sense anymore, or it never really did, but like, most of the language around it, like luminary, it creates its own light, just all the language just really doesn't have any logic or physical basis. It's like, it's not in its own class because like there's people who think, oh, this is all reality is an illusion. Okay, but it's not, But people like to fantasize about the grass is always greener on some sort of version of reality that we're not on. But the true wisdom, I think, is to notice that the reality that we got right now is pretty damn awesome. Okay, so let's take a look at Jupiter. Did I just dig a hole into the flat Earth? I don't know. I just read so many. I'll be honest. I read comments not on my channel, but on Ken Wheeler on Theoria Apophysis channel, and really from all walks of life, not just flat Earth, but talks about talk about like not being able to like look at somebody's video archive and see that they've basically talked about everything. It takes like 5 minutes, and people still write him comments that are like, Ken, have you seen yada yada, Victor Schauberger? And he's like talked about Victor Schauberger like hundreds of times, and it must be infuriating, I'll be honest. I feel for him. Let's see. Cosmic Surfer says, the truth is we don't actually know what the sun and moon are, hence we observe and ponder. I'm not saying we know what it is, but I'm saying it's there. You know what I mean? It's like, it's as real as, say, anything, a tree or a movie. There's some sort of ultimate, maybe deeper reason to what the moon is, but that's a question for another night. Tonight, there's a moon in front of us that somehow like comes through the camera, and y'all can see it on the internet. So, pretty much. Arwin says Ken Wheeler is a spin doctor, pseudoscience fantasist. So, I guess. But he does know how to get. Well, Arwin, let's just choose to disagree on that one, because Ken, with all his kookiness, is pretty brilliant about a lot of things. So, just calling people pseudoscientists and just making up names like means nothing, really. All right, let's jam some tunes, and I'll get back to talking about it in a second. Throw me some comments. Actually, let's do this one. guess this is a perfect night for it. Let's get into it. All right, almost 4 in the morning, and we got some Jupiter in view. Let's talk about some ridiculous language. So Arwen, you're just saying things about Ken Wheeler. You're not like saying anything scientific or like against any of his theories or any of his concepts. You're just saying it. And then in terms of rotation, like who cares if it's space or Earth rotating? Something is rotating because you can see the moon and the sun moving. So there's absolutely no logic behind any of that. So here, I'll give you a premise. So let's say flat Earth is just wrapped up in a lot of other conspiracies that are worth investigating. What if it's that? What if it's just very compelling because it's actually tied up in, you know, what really is happening, which is secret space program, like all these other things. So I think it's very seductive, but ultimately some of the space stuff is just very ridiculous. Like space is real, spheres are real, you can see them. If you just say you don't want to see them, that's fine, but like they're there. We're looking at them right now, unless you want to deny that we're seeing that. So Arwen, you're basically just slinging insults, and you're not saying anything serious, because I'm showing Jupiter, and I can talk about it in terms of a larger concept, thorough analysis, thorough physics that really work, consistency, and you're just throwing like kind of like just language around, really not saying anything. And then FNord99 says, some folks say the moon is not our friend, quote unquote. So I'd love to know who those folks are and what not our friend means. Because, you know, it hasn't harmed us thus far. It says it shouldn't be there. He says it shouldn't be there. Well, but it is you know, like, okay. Let's see. Tammy Sublet says, I think everyone here tonight knows what the scientific theory is, lol. Well, I didn't even answer that because that's just throwing random language. No, I'm happy to talk about it, but throw me something meaty that I can dissect instead of just being like, you're an idiot. Do you know how much of an idiot you are? Do you know how that guy is an idiot? He's such an idiot, and you're an idiot too. I mean, okay. Okay. Tell me something. Tell me something legit. No, I don't really want to, but I'm just having fun because I know a lot of flat earthers come to this channel. I'm not trying to mock anyone. I think like flat earth is wrapped up in a lot of legit conspiracies, and it's not fair that people mock anybody, really. We should be able to talk to one another about things, but I just find it funny that it's just become completely memified, and I don't know. I was chuckling at Ken Wheeler's comment section, and now, you know, Arwen came in with a bone to pick, so I'm happy to chat about it. I don't think flat earthers are stupid. I think it's a very seductive propaganda campaign that can catch anybody. Because the world does have conspiracies. Okay, so we can talk a lot of shit, like even on the electric view with my cats. People are like, Ken Wheeler talks too much. Ken Wheeler is too confusing. Ken Wheeler is all these things, but give me a break. Ken Wheeler is like absolutely bloody brilliant, and it shows. So like, facts are facts. Dude has like a brilliant concept of light, brilliant concept of thinking in general, deductive reasoning. He showed us the ferrocell. He showed us concepts of magnetism. all of these things help in the larger scheme of things. If you think they don't, that's your prerogative, but they definitely do. And if he was on a panel with Eric Dollard and a whole bunch of those cats, then I'm fine listening to him. Now, is he abrasive and have a lot of opinions? Yes, for sure. But I find it funny that it's not just like Arwen calling Ken Wheeler a spin doctor and a pseudoscientist. That type of language is also like thrown at Dr. Pierre-Marie Robitaille, Sky Scholar. And that dude is like, first of all, very kind and wonderful, and also brilliant, and invented the MRI. And people just come up to his channel and they leave him comments like, "This guy's a crackpot. He's a pseudoscientist." And I'm like, who the hell are like, besides the bots, the real people who come and lambaste him are just idiotic. I mean, there's so many channels to go and lambaste. Case in point, like Joe Rogan or any of these other channels with like Lawrence Krauss or Neil deGrasse Tyson or anybody like who's really turning people into zombies. But Sky Scholar and Thunderbolts Project and like my channel, well, I don't even get any comments in general anymore, but I used to get comments like, "The moon is fake, the moon's a projection, all space is fake, wake up," like just the most idiotic language. I'm sorry, I know like people use idiotic language, I'm guilty of it, but it really is idiotic. Let's see. Like SpaceX is definitely real, right? But SpaceX is also using primitive technology, and there must be people who have much higher level technology, right? So but it doesn't mean the Earth is flat. I said this like 5 years ago, but like when I first started the channel, I'm like, Earth is not flat, but there are definitely all these conspiracies, or there are a lot of conspiracies. It makes more sense that way because really bubbles and spheres are everywhere, and like even now, like for example, not to go deeper and nitpick flat Earth, but like Dwayne Kellum, the guy who did all the high altitude balloons, he himself has, has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that like there's not only a visible curve, and then people come to the chat and leave comments that say, "Perfect, it's perfectly level." And I mean, like, so what? You're either like completely misleading yourself, or it's like a psychological campaign to convert people. Have I gotten too deep at 4 in the morning on like the cultism of certain types of doctrines? Like, you know. When you say the moon is not a physical object, it means nothing. Like, what does it mean? I mean, or at least to me. It says, "Wow, what's the curvature then?" Go watch the channel, and if you don't see curvature, then there's nothing I can tell you. But even the guy who used to be a flat earther did like what, 50 high altitude balloons showing curvature each time, and people come to the channel and they're like, "No curvature." It's the funniest. It's so funny. Please don't, So yeah, Jupiter's looking amazing this morning. Yeah, cause Dwayne's been doing such beautiful work, right? Like, I'm not even jealous. I'm like, that's gorgeous. But like, yeah, he's been using all the correct camera stuff, and he does it with such care. FNord99 says, I can't tell for sure what the moon is. So, I mean, I agree. The moon is mysterious and wonderful and interesting, and its origins might be unknown. And like, who knows? It could be a spacecraft, but it's definitely an object, right? It definitely affects the clouds when we see it. There's energy when we connect with the moon. It's spherical, or at least hemispherical. It's got a surface that we can see. So there's conjecture, and then there's like just ridiculous random words. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm gotta say, like, some conspiracies have some really just random language. Um, I didn't think people are idiotic. I said the language is sort of idiotic. And I don't know what else to say, because that's the first word that comes to mind, because there's nothing to say about it. The moon being a hologram makes absolutely no sense in terms of what a hologram actually is. So to me, like, once you get over the seductiveness of that concept, you start to realize that, like, it's an impossible concept. It's like saying, I don't know, a cow made of honey. Oh my God, it's a cow made of honey. I can say those words. But saying the moon's a hologram, like, think about it. Like, what is a hologram? Like the stuff you've seen in movies and Star Wars? Where is it projected from? The North Pole? With what type of technology? And think about it. If that's the case, then I'm in awe. Like, it's impressive if the 200 Illuminati club have a projector that shows everybody a moon consistently. I have the real moon in view, and nobody really wants to see it. So think about it. Like, why waste any time on that? They already spend time on all the advertising and sports and all the shit. So moon is a hologram. Okay, so let's say it's not a projection hologram. Maybe that's me interpreting it that way. Let's say the moon's a hologram of what? So if you cut it up into two pieces, like, I don't even understand what the words are supposed to mean anymore. So FNord says, it appears to be an object, but that doesn't mean that it is. TV shows appear to be showing real events. No, TV shows show real events, fake events, made-up events, all sorts of events. And the moon, as you said, appears to be an object, therefore it is. Saying, like, that doesn't mean that it is just a very... It's almost like playing a theatrical role in the movie Clue by just creating bombast and seductiveness around language, but those words mean nothing. Not just to me, they just don't mean anything in the physical world. Effed Up World says, what if the stars are just pinholes in the darkness, and they are tiny windows into heaven? Like, see, that's beautiful language. It's poetic, but what seems like when you see stars in pictures, it's like, it looks like lymph nodes on a nervous system like you have in your body. So space and stars and the connectedness look like physical matter, like stuff that we see. And then everything around it is like the air that's around us. This is my perspective, you know, whatever, take it for what it's worth. What I'm saying is just something that's like way more empowering than, you know, everything is the veil being pulled over your eyes. But it's still poetic. Effed Up World says, I think the moon is a celestial object and that it is there, but that the physics on Earth are not necessarily the same where the moon is. So, I mean, if you just imagine that the smallest thing, like a virus or a bacteria or a cell, or we, humans or animals, have some sort of fractal or so-called holographic nature to them, then why wouldn't, planets have similar types of properties? There's no reason for them to have separate type of properties. It's much more logical if they have similar type of properties. Hologram would require some sort of projector, but there is not projector. Exactly. And even the projectors in those movies are always so glitchy and messed up. Like, look at Jupiter. I mean, it's unbelievable. Now, granted, I'm all about rethinking about the distance in space, about redshift. I'm all about rethinking light speed. There are a lot of really big overturnings, but things are definitely like spherical and Platonic geometry. And then all these conspiracies. Like, I don't know, maybe humans can't leave Earth. Maybe it's just robots. That's something. Like questioning Apollo is not, it is suspicious. I know people think I'm probably a crackpot for even mentioning that, but like Apollo is weird. The fact that we don't have like a national holiday dedicated to landing on the moon and we have National Pancake Day is crazy. Let's see, F. Nord says, no, it appears to be an object, therefore it is. So whatever something appears to be is what it is? Yes. If it weren't, then you could go to I'm not even going to talk or joke about death or suicide, but jumping off a cliff like a lemming, right, is not just because you're like, okay, I'm not going to die, or this cliff doesn't exist, or gravity doesn't exist, Don't jump off a cliff, but imagine that the situation is such that there's no good and evil behind it, no good and evil dropping you off that edge, and yeah, like it is what it is. You look over the edge, and that's the edge. You can decide like, oh, I don't think that's the edge, but it's the edge. Because people watching you after you perish will definitely notice that it was the edge. What's up, Copper Tropicals? Nice to see you. If it fits, I sit. Flat Plain, Oregon. What's going on? Says, without differing views, we would not grow. Always remain open to ideas and you'll flourish instead of stagnate. If that's directed at me, I'll just jump ahead and tell you that like Flat Earth is way more popular than Electric Universe. Like way more. Like there's a goddamn Netflix documentary, Joe Rogan's talked about it. Like they won't touch Electric Universe. So if, you know what I mean? It just shows like what's really secret and what's adopted by the mainstream. But I'm always open to ideas. If aliens showed up, great. If the Earth was flat, great. But it doesn't seem like it is, and aliens don't seem to exist. So I'm going with that. Yeah, like, that's actually not 100% true. I'm just going to take issue with that for a moment. Not in a bad way, just in a debate way. Without differing views, yes, to some degree, but in a group trying to accomplish something, having differing views is not a good idea. Like in a band, everybody being on the wrong side of on different points of view is not good. A team trying to achieve an art project or an installation being all having different opinions. Nope, not a good idea. Yeah, case in point, the government. All these people being like, oh, I have an idea. My constituents say, ooh, my state says, can't get anything done. So I don't think it's like it's a be-all, end-all. If we didn't have, if flat Earth didn't exist, like, we couldn't have dissenting views. No, I don't think so. Like, whatever. I'm okay with people having different opinions. It doesn't matter to me because I know what I believe. But like, it's not necessarily true. Yeah, but electric universe, like, connotes spherosity, toroidal geometry, hyperboloids, and plasmoids, and filaments, and echoes, and bubbles. It's fully geometric. Like, anyway, not to belabor this flat Earth thing, but it's very limited. I mean, always was very limited. The reason I don't prescribe to it at all is because once it's flat, then you got nothing. You end up just being catchphrases. Electric universe, you can move forward and like discover new things. Think about how many things I've talked about that have nothing to do with Thunderbolts Project that I've derived on my own. If you want to get very specific, I can, but like flat Earth goes nowhere. It's just hype. It's like alien stuff on Secure Team. Hype. It's all hype. Nobody's doing the actual work. But that's just me judging harshly. That's also language. Think about it, effed up world. Spinning ball, did you coin that? Or did somebody else coin that? Think about like who you're regurgitating before, you know? Like, just because Neil deGrasse Tyson is gross doesn't mean like the Earth is not the shape that it is when we have pictures of it. Ooh, I haven't talked about this. I almost never talk about flat Earth on this channel. So I happen to talk about it tonight. Leave me a million thumbs down. I don't care. I decided to chat about it tonight. Maybe it's because I'm tired of all these comments in Thunderbolt's channel and Ken Wheeler's channel that are all like listening to him and really paying attention and then just misunderstanding it intentionally somehow. And I don't know, does it matter? Maybe not. Jupiter looks nice. What's going on, Howie Dunn? Wow, got a lot of people in here. 4:12 on the clock. Race through space. Effed up world. I know, but like, look at the water in your sink. Why don't you pee and look at your pee? It spirals. Look at rivers, lakes, currents. Water moves, it curves, it like spirals, it's geometric, it's like wave patterns. Like, things are broad and things are moving constantly. Nothing is stationary in this universe. It's like the complete anti-concept. I mean, listen to Ken Wheeler. Ken Wheeler is saying like, absolutely not flat. Absolutely listen to me, guys. It's not. And people are like, oh, Ken, you're just a flat earther. It's the weirdest thing. It's like, it's not, yeah. It's fanaticism to some degree. I'm sorry. I know it's judgy, but when you get really, you're like, it reminds me of when me and my buddies used to argue about Metallica versus AC/DC. It's like, AC/DC is the best band. No, Metallica's the best band. And then my other friend would come in and be like, Guns N' Roses is the best band. These guys all suck. And, you know, science is terrible like that. So, anyway, effed up world, like bubbles and pretty much everything, especially looking at the moon and Jupiter and Saturn, it's spherical. I mean, like, you can say what you want, but like it's spherical and it rotates, and it makes more sense that it rotates than as if it were still, because you would see that it was still. The language has done a number on the psyche, but it is what it is, you know. But always contained in a container. Well, Earth is a sort of container. There's pressure from the outside, from all of space, pushing down on Earth, keeping this very thin isotropic layer of like the atmosphere, ionosphere, magnetosphere, hydrosphere, in a very thin sandwich, like 200 kilometers worth of life on a thin surface of a very large planet. Like, it is what it makes a lot more sense that way. It's like when you see ants, and ants have tiny bacteria on their backs. So we're just like that. It makes way more sense that way. Megadeth, exactly. Megadeth forever. I was thinking the other day that I'm very lucky I got to see Metallica and Megadeth. And yeah, I saw Metallica twice. Thanks for the thumbs up, y'alls. All right, let's do a little jams here, and I need to get some water, and then I'll move over to Saturn for a second. It's a late Sunday show. Actually, it's already Monday, so. 4th of July, come and gone, another one.
My soul in opposition. Your mind is an illusion. You suffer degradation. drift away and become a silent draw. And you drift away when the moon is riding full. Come, let's drift away. You're the queen of the night, and I'm so living life for you. Without saying a lie, I know myself is impossible. I'm living in what you say, so and all those believing in what you do,
Yo, hopping in here, keep chatting a little bit. It'll keep me awake. 422, got some Saturn in view. Yeah, I'm a big Metallica fan. I'll be honest, I can listen to all the albums and enjoy them except really for Saint Anger and maybe Lulu, but even that's alright. But Saint Anger, just something about it, not really, even though I love them and I give them a pass on almost everything. But I've definitely gone through my phases of albums and which album's the best, but ultimately I think it's particular songs that are the best. So if I'm gauging my Metallica songs, one song from every album, you'll get my whole take on it. Also, yeah, Saturn gets a bad rap. Everything is taken pretty negatively and everything is taken positively. So, a lot of people don't know that Saturn is a representation for the wedding band, or that Saturn could have been our proto-sun, or any number of things. But I think it's just good to think about Saturn as something being conscious and connected to us and start from there. But let's do a quick song from Metallica. So Kill 'Em All, probably, I know people do like something weird, but I think Four Horsemen is my favorite off that. Or Seek and Destroy, just for nostalgia, but Four Horsemen if I'm picking one. And then I could say Whiplash, but Four Horsemen. And then, see, I'm doing three. Ride the Lightning, definitely Creeping Death, Call of Cthulhu, and then probably Ride the Lightning. I know Trapped Under Ice is probably one up there, but... And then from Master of Puppets, definitely Sanitarium, definitely Battery. I mean, all of Master, but Battery is probably my favorite. Actually, no, let's go deeper. Let's say Damage Incorporated, my favorite from Master. And then Justice, let's see, Justice, I could say Frayed Ends of Sanity. Yeah, probably Frayed Ends. Black Album, or like Garage Days Revisited, or Garage Days, I would do Wee Hours or Bread Fan. And then Black Album, I would do God That Failed, or Friend of Misery. And I would do, let's see, Load, Bleeding Me, or House That Jack Built. And then Reload, probably Where the Wild Things Are, or Fixer, or Fuel, which is always a classic, but it got overplayed. Anybody enjoying this Metallica list, or am I just going off on my own thing? And then finally, let's see. I really haven't listened to the last album. I didn't like Saint Anger. I think All Nightmare Long was probably great off that album. Death Magnetic, that was fun. But yeah, everything before that was pretty great. Gary Baxter says, "Boo, why? Give me better songs." You're just like my buddy. Do I have to go through my Iron Maiden album list? Phantom of the Opera, Seventh Son of the Seventh Son. All right, now I'm done. I'm done with power metal. Now I just play moon music and write really weird songs for Lunar ticks. Oh, he's booing your joke. Sorry. I thought, not my list. Okay, sorry. It is late, forgive me. Anyway, that was my Metallica list, and I saw them at Woodstock 99. That was intense. 2 in the morning. Everybody screaming Master of Puppets. It was kind of amazing. And then I saw them at the Big Four with Megadeth, Slayer, and I think it was Anthrax. And man, they were just amazing, even though Megadeth was like so good. So good. Yeah, if I were to say favorite Metallica album, probably Master. Just because like you can't really mess with Battery and Damage Incorporated, pretty much. Besides, like, of course, Master of Puppets, Sanitarium, what's that one? Do I really have to look through the list? No, I'm going to remember it. Leper Messiah, and man, Disposable Heroes. Yeah, Disposable Heroes. That should have been my pick off of Master, because that one was great. Is great. F. Nord. Then when I heard Ulrich whining about Napster, I quit listening to them altogether. Petty to be sure. Well, I don't know. I'll be honest, like, if you really look at the state of music nowadays, I don't blame them at all for freaking out because, well, that's not true. It was pretty lame, but, but, they did make a living off of music, and they do kick ass. So, in a rational kind of balanced way, also Lars is pretty legit, you know. With all that it's said about him, if you listen to him, dude is smart, dude knows how to write a song, has played some of the most iconic drum parts, made a fortune off of music, looks rad playing, like literally seminal drummer of our time, and people give him so much flack for years and years and years, and he's never talked shit really. When Napster came along, like, even though I'm all about, you know, freedom of music and all that shit, you can't blame them for making a stupid PR move like that. Ultimately, you know, screw rich douchebags, but Metallica's still Metallica. Oh, you're saying you're being petty. Shit, I'm misreading everybody's comments tonight. I'm sorry. But yeah, either way, the story applies. So many people gave Lars shit, and then, but it's Metallica, you know what I mean? It's not like Third Eye Blind or some crappy band like that. I shouldn't talk shit about any band, but effed up world, hell yeah. Music is CGI, it's a hologram, it's fake, yeah, music is stationary. Also, I find it really hilarious that everyone's saying Earth is stationary, and I think about paper. Earth is a piece of paper. So I gotta say, the shot of Saturn is not bad for the 8-inch, and I'm glad I waited up to capture some of this. If you didn't see it earlier in the show, like in the first 10 minutes, I had a wide shot with my camera. You could see the triangle. It's the triangle of Jupiter, Saturn, and the Moon in one shot, which is what I've been trying to do for a lot of conjunctions, and I just never got my shit together. So I don't know if you can stop corporate America. I think like that's the world we live in. It's like generations will die off, and the next generation will love corporate America. F. Nord says, tough to argue about Master. Must have listened to it 1,000 times. Yep, definitely. With my friends, alone, practicing it, watching videos of it. Definitely, if y'all know the Binge and Purge series, where they have that video from '89 in Seattle, where they're playing most of Master and some of Justice, it's like, forget it. The best. Sepultura, Slayer, all good. Pantera, also really good. But really, in terms of like pure songwriting, Metallica. In terms of like technical metal, Megadeth. And then like power metal, I would say like definitely Maiden. And there are others, but if you're talking about like big acts like that, for me, it took me a while to get into the 70s and 60s, 70s, and 80s prog that wasn't like the big names. And now I listen to much deeper stuff like Nectar and, you know, Yes, and like ELP, Genesis, and even weirder stuff like Ian Carr and Automatic Man, and I don't know, like rock to me became a little too homogenized because pretty much so many metal bands and hard rock bands kept writing the same song over and over till the point where like you had even crappier bands like Nickelback and Creed and all these other bands, a lot more of them came out and started writing like pastiche versions of already saturated songs. There's almost nothing legit new in rock and roll. So if you go back to like the 70s and 80s, you start to look at like some of the stuff like trying to come to me, but like Captain Beyond, Deep Purple. Obviously, Deep Purple is pretty big, but if you look at the side projects like Rainbow with Dio, and like early Sabbath and offshoots of that. Anyway, I'm just rambling here. It's late. Let's get back to the moon for a little bit, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Appreciate everybody hanging out, listen to me chat, and talk about some stuff. A toasty morning to y'all. Let's just vibe here. Something mellow, something mellow. Alright, hopping in here for a second to talk about the lunar wave thing. So please check out this playlist. 1 second. Dang, I had it. Other waves, yeah. So may as well. So this is an other waves playlist. It's 10 waves or 11 waves and 2 videos explaining waves. And then this is my playlist of the waves that I've caught. Yeah, sorry if I'm being snippy. It is almost 5. I just mean, like, I've chatted about the wave like a whole bunch of times. I figured you might have heard it. But either way, those are the 2 playlists to check out. I've caught the lunar wave 3 times, Jupiter wave twice, Saturn wave once. And I think the 2 videos at the end of the others playlist make sense. It's like, it's probably some sort of shock wave. It's a noticeable effect that's been filmed after shock waves of like explosions or ballistics, and it's happening in our atmosphere. Would make sense. But that's where I got to on it. This moonshot is just ridiculous. Like, I really need to go to bed, but it looks so good, and I just want to record a little bit longer, 5 more minutes. I'm gonna let it drift. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. You can hear me slurring already. What's up, domain masters? And yeah, so for everybody just joining, or if you joined late, remember to check back at the beginning of the video for a wide shot of Jupiter, Saturn, and the moon. Actually, maybe I should close out with that shot. Let's see if that's probably the best way to do it. Yeah, I gotta do it. Let me think about this.
Tumbling
I tried, but for some reason my camera hates me tonight. Like I can't focus at the wider shot, so I can't get everything in focus. But either way, I don't know if you noticed me struggling with it, but I was just trying to basically get Jupiter, Saturn, and the moon all in one shot. I got this lens, and at some point it just stopped wanting to focus. So I have to zoom in, and I think this is it for me. It's late, and I got Jupiter and the moon in view, which is good enough. I appreciate everybody hanging out and listening to me ramble, and listening to me also judge certain things. So no offense meant. It was all in good debate fun. And hope you all have a great day tomorrow. I think there's just some junk on the lens, so nothing weird going on. Looks kind of cool. Oh, I see Justin Poulos. Oh my god. From way back in the day. What's going on, Justin? Long time. One of the first people to ever show up on the stream. So crazy. I thought I saw somebody else. Relic, what's going on? Alright, y'all. I'm headed to bed. Go back and check the beginning of the video to see all three of them in one shot. At least I got it once tonight. And then there was some killer shots of the moon and Jupiter and Saturn. Great dialogue, and I mean, just reading all your great comments. Yeah. I'll try and stream again tomorrow, but I think this might be the end of this cycle for a little bit. So if I don't stream again for a couple of weeks, I'll catch you on the next moon cycle. That's probably not going to happen. I'm going to probably do Jupiter and Saturn, but the moon is going to be done, I think, for now. All right, everybody, take care. Thanks again. I'll catch you all real soon.
Twisted.